Imagine waking up 30,000 years ago. Not as a hunter. Not as a chief. Not even as an adult. You are a newborn baby. The world around you is enormous. The grass is taller than you. The fire is larger than you. Even a rabbit looks powerful compared to you. You cannot walk. You cannot talk. You cannot find food. You cannot protect yourself. You cannot even keep yourself warm for very long. By almost every rule of nature, you should not survive. And yet, you do. You are here today. Which means something remarkable happened. For hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors solved a problem that seems almost impossible. They kept human babies alive. Not for days. Not for weeks. But long enough for those babies to grow up and have children of their own. Again and again. Generation after generation. If even one link in that chain had broken, you would not exist. So how did they do it? How did people with no hospitals, no medicine, and no modern technology protect the most vulnerable members of their group? The answer reveals one of the greatest survival strategies in human history. And it begins with a strange problem hidden inside your skull. Many animals are born ready for action. A baby deer can stand within hours. A young horse can follow its mother on the same day. Even baby chimpanzees can cling tightly to their mothers. Human babies are different. Very different. A human newborn arrives in the world almost completely dependent on other people. Without help, survival is impossible. A baby cannot gather food. A baby cannot escape danger. A baby cannot build shelter. A baby cannot fight. A baby cannot run. In many ways, a human newborn is one of the most helpless creatures on Earth. At first glance, this seems like a terrible design. Why would evolution create such a vulnerable child? Why not make babies stronger? Why not make them more independent? The answer lies inside the human brain. Human beings have unusually large brains. Your brain is the reason you can learn languages. It is the reason you can imagine the future. It allows you to create tools. It allows you to cooperate with strangers. It allows you to tell stories. But large brains come with a cost. A larger brain requires a larger skull. And a larger skull creates a problem during birth. A fully developed human baby could not easily pass through the birth canal. Something had to give. Evolution found a compromise. Human babies are born earlier in their development than many other primates. In a sense, much of your childhood begins before your brain is finished growing. At birth, your brain is only a fraction of its adult size. The rest of the journey happens outside the womb. This solution allowed humans to evolve larger brains. But it also created a new challenge. A baby now needed years of protection. Years of food. Years of care. Years of teaching. No mother could easily handle this burden completely alone. And that is where the real story begins. Because the secret was never the baby. The secret was the group. The solution was not stronger babies. The solution was more helpers. Humans discovered something unusual. A child did not belong only to its parents. A child belonged to the group. If a mother needed to gather food, someone else could hold the baby. If a father was away hunting, others could help protect the child. If one adult became tired, another could take over. Researchers sometimes call this cooperative breeding. But the idea is simple. Many people helped raise one child. Imagine a typical day in a prehistoric camp. A mother wakes before sunrise. She feeds her baby. The baby falls asleep. Soon, the mother needs to gather food. She cannot stay beside the fire all day. Her family also needs to eat. So the baby is handed to another caregiver. Perhaps a grandmother. Perhaps an older sister. Perhaps an aunt. The baby remains safe. The mother continues working. Later, the baby returns to its mother. Then another family member helps. The responsibility moves from person to person. Like a relay race. But instead of passing a torch, they pass a child. This system changed everything. A mother could gather more food. The group could support more children. More children survived. More children grew into adults. And over thousands of generations, this strategy helped shape humanity itself. The survival of human babies became a shared project. Not a private responsibility. And that may have been one of the most important inventions in human history. Even though it was never written down. And never built from stone. Among all these helpers, one group may have been especially important. Grandmothers. At first, that sounds surprising. Most animals do not live very long after they stop having offspring. Humans are different. Human women often live for many years after their childbearing years end. Why? One possible answer is hidden in family life. A grandmother may no longer be raising babies of her own. But she can still help raise her grandchildren. She can watch children while parents work. She can gather food. She can share knowledge. She can teach survival skills. She can help keep children safe. Over time, these small contributions add up. A grandmother helping one child may increase that child's chance of survival. Helping several grandchildren could have an even larger effect. Some researchers believe this may have influenced human evolution itself. This idea is known as the grandmother hypothesis. It remains debated. But many scientists believe grandmothers played an important role in human survival. Imagine a prehistoric camp. A young mother is carrying a baby. She is tired. She still needs food. She still has work to do. Then a grandmother takes the child into her arms. For a while, the burden becomes lighter. The mother can focus on gathering food. The grandmother can focus on the child. And the baby receives care from both. Everyone benefits. The child. The mother. The family. The group. In a world where survival was never guaranteed, even a small advantage mattered. And few advantages may have been more valuable than an experienced grandmother. But grandmothers were only part of the story. Human babies were surrounded by an entire network of caregivers. Mothers. Fathers. Grandparents. Older siblings. Aunts. Uncles. Friends. And other members of the group. For most of human history, raising a child was rarely a two-person job. It was often a community effort. Imagine being a baby in a prehistoric camp. You wake up in your mother's arms. A few hours later, your grandmother is carrying you. Soon after, an older sibling is playing with you. Later, another adult watches over you while your mother gathers food. Throughout the day, different people enter and leave your world. Each one contributes something small. Protection. Food. Warmth. Knowledge. Attention. Individually, these contributions may seem minor. Together, they create a powerful support system. This system helped human children survive one of the longest childhoods in the animal kingdom. A human child depends on adults for far longer than most mammals. That dependence could have been a weakness. Instead, humans turned it into a strength. Because every year of childhood created more time for learning. More time for language. More time for social skills. More time for culture. More time for knowledge to pass from one generation to the next. In a way, human childhood became an investment. The group spends years caring for a child. The child eventually becomes an adult. Then helps the next generation. The cycle repeats again and again. For thousands of generations. Of course, there was still one problem. Human babies needed constant care. But adults could not stop working. Food still had to be gathered. Shelter still had to be maintained. Fires still had to be tended. The group still had to move. So how do you care for a baby while doing everything else? Humans found a surprisingly simple solution. They carried their babies. Long before strollers. Long before cribs. Long before modern parenting books. Parents simply kept babies close. Sometimes in their arms. Sometimes against their chest. Sometimes on their backs. Sometimes wrapped in animal skins. Sometimes supported by woven plant fibers. Archaeologists rarely find baby carriers. Most were made from materials that disappear over time. Leather. Bark. Plant fibers. Wood. But researchers believe some form of baby carrying was probably common throughout human history. The advantages were enormous. A baby stayed safe. A baby stayed warm. A baby stayed close to caregivers. A baby could observe the world. And while being carried, a baby was constantly learning. Watching faces. Listening to voices. Learning social behavior. Learning language. Even before speaking a single word. A carried baby was already becoming human. And perhaps that simple act of carrying children helped shape the social species we are today. Imagine that baby one last time. Small. Fragile. Unable to survive alone. At first, that seems like a weakness. But it may have been one of humanity's greatest strengths. Because a helpless baby forced people to cooperate. It encouraged families to stay connected. It encouraged knowledge to be shared. It encouraged communities to work together. Every child created a reason for people to help one another. And over time, those small acts of cooperation became something extraordinary. They helped build trust. They helped build culture. They helped build society itself. The story of human survival was never just about stronger hunters. Or sharper tools. Or bigger brains. It was also about care. About patience. About teaching. About carrying. About protecting those who could not yet protect themselves. For hundreds of thousands of years, human babies arrived in the world unfinished. And for hundreds of thousands of years, other humans completed the job. Parents. Grandparents. Brothers. Sisters. Friends. Entire communities. Generation after generation. Again and again. That chain eventually reached you. Every person alive today is connected to an unbroken line of babies who survived. Not because they were strong, but because someone cared for them. Someone carried them. Someone protected them. Someone taught them. If even one baby in that chain had been lost, history would be different. You would be different. Or perhaps you would not be here at all. So the next time you see a newborn child, remember that you are looking at one of the oldest human stories ever told. A tiny creature that should not survive alone. Surrounded by people who make survival possible. And that simple partnership may be one of the greatest reasons humanity still exists today.